Ladies and gentlemen, from the Microsoft Theater here in downtown Los Angeles.
It's a lot easier to do when you can actually hear the
Brought to
music.
you by Shawn Porter Promotions. Live from Los Angeles, it's time
On the ride.
for the main
Let's be right. I like that tie, by the way.
Thank you.
I know I don't compliment your ties, your outfits often. I'll give you a compliment on that one.
Not ever. I picked good today,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah.
Or did I pick well?
I don't know. It looks like a butterfly or some tasty chewing gum. I don't know. I like it though.
That's
I'm feeling
enough. That's enough.
Yeah.
All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Motivational Monday. Showtime, Shawn Porter. Of course, you know Carson Merk, but to my left, you're right, I believe.
it. Yeah.
Boom. We have Dr. Lucas.
Thank you.
Dr. Vernell Lucas.
Thank you very much.
Did you miss me?
I did.
Check out that Martin Lawrence episode. Doc, why don't you introduce yourself and then we'll go from there.
All right. How you guys doing? My name is Dr. Lucas. I've been a chiropractor for over 20 years. In doing so, I've helped a lot of athletes and just got people back to where they wanted to get in a natural way. So no drugs, no surgery, just helping people in with their habits and allowing them to get great results and perform at different levels. And that's what I've done to cut it short.
And real quick, just again, to cut it short, but how did you get into chiropractic work?
I got into chiropractic. I was in high school and I injured myself playing basketball. And in doing so, I wanted to get back on the court. And I went to the traditional doctor. They were like, you need to get an x-ray and then you need to get some drugs and then you need to wait. And I was like, but I want to play today.
Right. Right.
There's somebody else who wants my spot. I need to play today.
Right.
So my uncle goes, hey, you need to go see a chiropractor. I go, I don't even know what that is. He goes, at that point, I was in so much pain. He was like, just go. So I went to a chiropractor and had really low expectations. And by the time I left, I was jumping in his office. Like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is amazing. And he was like, calm down, calm down. I was just like, you don't understand, I can move again. I didn't think I was going to be able to move like this. And that kind of triggered in my head. We went on to win a state championship at Artesia High School. And I had to throw that out there.
Yeah, I heard it.
Of course.
And then sometime in college, I got in a car accident and I heard the word chiropractor again. So I go see another chiropractor and this guy's practicing a little different than the first guy, but I liked the fundamentals of what he was doing. And I saw how my body was going to get better. And he really broke down, what was the spine and how it worked, what was the nervous system, how your kidneys worked. And it was a real lesson on how the body worked. And I was like, this is interesting. I've never heard information like this. And that got me excited. So I went to chiropractic school, and in doing so, first thing they teach is, your brain controls and regulates everything, and then from that is your nervous system, and then those nerves come out and they innervate everything. And if you have a blockage in those nerves, what's going to happen is you're going to have dis-ease inside the body. And the longer you have a dis-ease, it turns into dis-eases. And you trade drugs for that stuff. So he said, as long as you maintain the dis-ease, you'll never be sick.
You're saying disease. You're just saying it a different way.
Yeah, dis-ease.
It was bars. I was afraid. He said, slow it down.
You ain't got to do all that.
I appreciate
Do it for
it.
the South.
Yeah. Rakim's birthday last week. So
And what I've learned, I was introduced to you by Brandon Adams, of course, another boxer, another great friend of mine, another great athlete.
Absolutely.
And he said, man, you need to check this guy out. I didn't know much, but he said chiropractor. And first thing I thought was, okay, cool. I'm going to get cracked up a little bit.
Yeah.
Be good to go.
yeah.
I'm laying on a massage table with you for probably less than, it was definitely less than an hour the first time we worked, because it was more of an introduction of what I do. And it's like massage therapy mixed with like the traditional chiropractic work. When people hear, oh, I'm going to see a chiropractor,
Adjustments.
you thinking getting your neck cracked or you thinking getting your back cracked. And so you do a mixture of both, right?
Yeah. Well, a lot of it had to be developed because when you think of a younger athlete, they'll move really easily. So if I was to adjust somebody in their teenage years, they haven't developed enough bad habits So right away I could adjust and everything falls right into alignment. But when you have maybe a more experienced athlete who has maybe fought a lot more, had a lot more trauma on their body, those muscles are going to hold you out of position. We call it, let's say, muscle imbalances. And those things get really tight. And as they get really tight, they stop function, they stop motions, they stop movement. And as I started to progress through, I had to realize that I can't just adjust these guys right away because the muscles are pulling so tight, it won't allow anything to happen. So initially I started with my thumbs and it was like, oh, I could just hold this spot. And those were like regular patients, like, mom, dad come in. When I got the athletes, the muscles were bigger. So for me to do that, I would be holding my thumb like in your neck or wherever it was for a long time. It was just too much. So I had to get to a point where I was using maybe more force because the muscles were bigger. Yeah.
And that's where the elbow.
That's where the elbow came in. People's elbow, baby.
I don't think we'll get any video on here. I like to refer to what's going to be seen or not going to be seen. But you stand on my back. You stand on my calf muscles. You've stood on my forearms. You've stood on my hands, my feet. You know what I mean? Like, why is that much pressure necessary?
Well, you have to have enough pressure to make something happen.
Okay. Simple as that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I tried to paint that question and all that.
You would have a fractured form if I stood on your arm. But
That's what I'm saying. Like, how does he know? You know what I mean? Like, how to.
Part of his nutritional outlook. He's like, well, I could get some fast food, but I can't stand on somebody's arm.
Right.
So, it works together.
It's
Yin and yang.
definitely a technique that's associated with it. I wouldn't suggest anybody to do it because in itself it's hard and it hurts. And if you don't know, you don't have the confidence, then it makes it even worse, you know? And I think even as my parents started getting older, I started to realize that I couldn't just adjust them really quick. Now they had muscles in their neck or muscles in their chest or shoulders all muscles do is contract and relax. So when they're super, super tight, you're not getting any motion. The joint will not move. And if the joint doesn't move, the joint will erode, or cause arthritis, which means you don't have any motion or any movement in there. So being in a place where you have that motion, at full range of motion and strength associated, gives the fighter or anybody confidence, and that feels good, Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, you mentioned getting into it 20 years ago. I mean, that's a long time. What do you think? Kind of even going more towards the athlete perspective, do you think it's more, I guess, common now? Like, was it maybe when you were getting into it, people were like, chiropractor, like, how's that gonna help me? You think now people are opening up their minds a little bit more to that stuff?
What's funny is, I've been doing this for a long time, and even when I got started, people were laughing. You're gonna be a chiropractor.
Yeah.
My grandmother's from Louisiana. She's passed now. But when I told her I was going to be a chiropractor, she goes, "Oh, you're going to be a chiropractor?" Yeah, I'm going to be a chiropractor. She was like, "You're going to work on cows?" But that tells you how long ago it was.
Yeah.
Now I would say people are more open-minded to natural things, and with TikTok and stuff like that out there, people are coming in. I saw this video. I want you to do that to me. I was like, well, slow down. Right. Everybody's not ready for that right now. Let's see where you are, and we can maybe go from there. But I would think that a lot more people are more interested in holistic things compared to maybe medicine the way that it was when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I know one thing for me with the Motivational Monday, I always want to introduce someone who can extend motivation, extend knowledge, extend, help to people who sometimes they don't know, or sometimes they just don't have the right guidance, and they're unaware. The list goes on. And so with today's episode, of course, with you being a chiropractor, and also working primarily with athletes, this being primarily a boxing podcast, I thought it was really great for you to come in so that people could hear your voice and hear the side of a chiropractor and the understanding that you have that athletes need guys like you, not Vernell specifically, Dr. Vernell Lucas specifically. Of course, if you can get the doc, we want you to get the doc. But if you can't, like, I want everybody out there that's watching this now and know some fighters or some athletes out there, And you may think that getting a massage once a week during a training camp is good enough. I am here to tell you that it's not good enough. How can I make that statement? Because something's up. And for a long time, I just thought I just need a massage and I'm good. Let me get to Friday. Friday or Saturday was my day to just be to myself. Let me get to Friday to Saturday and I'm good. And it went from, you know what I mean, me being good all through camp to, you know, then it was like a week here or there and through camp where it was like, ooh, you know what I mean? As I got closer to the end of my career, it became a daily thing in and out of camp where I'm like, yo, what's going on? Of course, out of camp, not fighting so much, especially in the last couple of years of my career, it was like, well, you don't need to go get a massage, you know, or
coming up.
or I was just delaying going to get the massage. And then it turned into a thing where it was hard for me to sleep at night. I'm like, I can only lay on one side.
Yeah.
I lay on my left side a little too long, and it's like, I can't sleep. I'm up at night, you know? And of course, I get married in the last couple of years, and my wife, 2020, we weren't getting ready for anything, you know, but hoping that something would come. And she's like, hey, before you get ready for the next fight, why don't you go get your hip looked at? I was like, no, I'm good. She's like, no, you've been complaining about this for a long time. Go get it looked at. And I'm like, all right, might as well, got nothing else to do. And when I went to go get my hip looked at, they x-rayed it. And I'm going to tell you guys a true story. The first doctor I saw, I'm not going to say his name, but when he came in to the waiting room to see me, this is a true story. He comes in, doesn't know who I am. He says, Shawn Porter. I say, yes. He's looking. I don't know what you're looking at, but he says, looking now, he says, what do you do for a living? I said,
self-employed.
I said, well, you know, I'm an athlete. He says, oh yeah, what sport do you do? I said, I'm a boxer. How long you been doing that? I don't know. I'm like 10 or so years. He says, how's it going? like he really didn't know.
I box from time to time.
I said, and you know me, I'm like,
win a couple fights.
I'm doing
well.
pretty good. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. He says, that all you do? like that's not good enough. So I'm like, I get a little tense at that point.
To the Porterweight podcast.
I said, little attitude back. This is a true story. I said, well, I mean, I'm doing some commentary work now, you know? Like now I'm trying to think of things to do, you know? He says, got some bad news. I said, all right, well, God damn it, tell me what's going on. He says, your hip is bad. He says, actually, both hips are bad. He said, but your left hip, you have severe chronic arthritis in your left hip. And as soon as he says that to me, the ding of all of these years now of me feeling like this little bit of pain, and over the years, it started to increase a little bit. And in the last 2 years, I would say 2019, 2020, 2021, it would keep me up at night. And as soon as he said, you got severe chronic arthritis in the left hip, and the right hip's right behind it, ding, I said, oh yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that. So how bad is it really? He says to me, this is what I told you earlier, well, it looks like you might have been born with your hips out of place. And when he says that, again, true story, I thought to myself, damn, all the girls used to say I would switch when I walk. Now that makes sense. Like I had a rough childhood. Like I had some points in my life where I hated like my backside because like people would joke about me switching, and then once I got a little older and it became, oh, you got a nice little I was like, yeah, you know. But when he said looks like you were born with your hips out of place, ding. Oh, that's why the girls used to say I used to switch.
Everything. You just had all kinds of revelations.
I'm having all these revelations are happening. So he sits down. He says, how much longer are you thinking about boxing? I said, well, I don't know. He says, well, what I'm looking at, you say you do pretty well, right? And that's why I was like, yeah, I've been a 2-time world champion. He says, well, sounds like you're doing pretty good. You've done well. I would say try to get the most you can out of the next year, 2 years. After that, I'm like, damn, 2 years.
You said
He's like,
commentary, right? You can do that sitting down. Yeah.
he says, after that, I think you should go into commentary full time.
Wow.
He says, how's the commentary going for you? I said, well, I do pretty good at that. He says, well, sounds like you got a pretty good future ahead of you. What I'm looking at is hip replacement surgery relatively soon.
You know Bo Jackson.
In the next couple of years. Of course, he came to mind, but not at that point in time.
Yeah.
Of course, he came. He
Greatest hip
came
injury
to
of all
mind later
time.
when I was talking about when I had to break the news to my dad. But can you bring up the X-ray, please?
It's up here. Oh.
It's up on our end. It's not up on there.
Okay.
But he says what I'm looking at right here is he says that you don't have much space in between your joints, and he was telling me that that's what the arthritis was, and he's saying that there's barely any space. In another year or two, you'll be lucky if there's any at all. You'll be bone on bone, and you're gonna be needing this hip replacement surgery. And if you look at the right hip, it was you it looks like you were born this way.
Right.
This hip's going the exact same way as the left. It was looking like you got more life in this one, but eventually you're gonna need your right hip replaced as well.
I don't know
So-
which one's which as I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
I was holding up the.
So what I wanted to bring to everybody's attention. So the hip that is really bad is the hip that's on the right. If you see the little arrow, the other one. Yes, that one.
They're not going to see that arrow.
Now,
by the way.
now go down just a little bit. Oh, they can't see the
No,
arrow.
not
at the top.
Well, I have what they described to me as bone spurs, and what they told me is that your body, when it senses that something's wrong, your body is smart enough to understand what needs to happen in order to fix what's wrong. And so my hip created these bone spurs basically because of the range of motion wasn't correct, and because there was so much pounding on the hip joints. For
Think
so
of it
long.
like as a crutch. All right. So if you don't have enough strength for that joint to support itself, it's going to start creating other things in which it can do that. So if you, like you said, if you look on the side, sometimes you'll have ligaments that will start to turn and calcify. They'll start to actually turn the bone because there's no movement or motion inside of them, and those will, because ligaments and tendons should move. So when they stop moving, they start getting calcification, and this starts the whole process of arthritis and joint pain and all of this other kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
Is this something where you also can get overcompensation, especially like with a leg or
absolutely,
a hip, where one will
absolutely.
kind of mess up
They
the
call
other
them
one?
muscle imbalances and things like that. Maybe you lead off on one foot or one leg, or you walk a certain way, and that becomes a habit. And as you do that consistently, it will cause problems for sure. So in looking at your hips, your problem was you decided to fight. And we get really good at it.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of conditioning. It takes a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
So it's compression on the joint on a consistent basis with no decompression. So if you're not ever decompressing the muscles or strengthening them out or putting them in a position where they can function normally, there's going to be problems. And this is true of everyone. You know, this is the basic, how everybody ages is what you're seeing in your hip. You're just seeing it fast forward because you ran a lot more miles than everybody else. Yeah.
And that was what was said to me. And he referred me to another doctor that specialized in hips, and of course specialized in hip replacement.
It was Shakira.
You stole that joke.
No, shout
Shout
out
out
to Shakira.
to the producer.
Oh, and Shakira. I mean, shout out.
Definitely shout out Shakira.
But go ahead, carry on.
So he referred me to another doctor. I go to this doctor. Of course, he's looking at me not with the same tone, but basically saying, much easier about the situation.
What if that conversation had gone the same? He's like, hey, what do you do? What do you do
Yeah,
for a living?
yeah. No, he was much easier about the situation. He just was like, hey, this is what I'm looking at. This is what you're dealing with. This is what I think you need to do. And of course, they are recommending I get both hips replaced. The right hip, of course, I have more time. I can essentially do whatever I want to do with the right hip, but the left hip needs immediate attention.
They looked up the net worth and they're like, yeah, he can afford both hips.
That's probably what happened.
All those questions about how well you were doing, that's what that was leading to. Like,
Is he going to get platinum or aluminum?
yeah.
So 2020 is when I found out. And I took the information to my dad. It was right before we fought for Mella. And I swear to God, I record everything. The reason why I record everything is because I know that I won't be able to say exactly what was said and how it was said. I don't have, number one, I don't have the recordings anymore because I have a different phone. But number two,
about 6 different phones.
number two, I decided, you know what, that's probably not legal if I play the recordings of the doctors. But I once, like when I met the first dude, he was younger. He was being cool, but like just all in my grill at the same time.
Yeah.
I was like, this would be pretty cool to play on the show one day. And I don't have it. But I did at the point in time when I told my dad about it. I said, listen, I want to show you what I just did, and I want you to hear what was said. And my dad was listening, and now he's looking at the paper too. He's turning the paper over, the x-ray over, like everything. As he's listening to it, was about, I don't know, 20, 25 minute recording, right? When it ends, I grabbed my phone. I said, so that's basically, so that's basically what I'm dealing with. And I look at my dad. My dad's looking down at the x-ray. He says, he looks up at me, he said, well, you had a pretty good career. I laughed, and it wasn't a hearty laugh. It was like kind of a sad laugh. It was like the nervous, sad laugh. I was like, yeah. He says, well, let me ask you, like, how many more fights do you want to have? And I said, Dad, I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought Errol Spencer was gonna be my last fight. He said, oh, really? I said, yeah. I said, but I'm still here. I still want to fight, and you know the fight that I want, of course, Terrence Crawford. Yeah. He says, well, we got to fight in about 6 weeks. What do you think? I said, let's do it. He says, all right. Well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna stop running. We'll start doing more bike work, and we'll do more swimming. Those are I bike, I run, I swim. I mean, the list is long of everything that I do, track work, all of that. And he wanted to cut all of that out, and in preparation for this Formella fight. And not, of course, not knowing how it was going to go, we knew what we had in front of us. Yeah. So I think that felt like it gave my dad enough wiggle room to at least see what could happen. And of course, we performed well and everything like that. We never revisited the X-ray. It was more so just conversations. How's your hip? How's it feeling? What are you doing for it? And of course, I started to do more massaging for it. I started to take the turmeric as you this prescribed that I do. But it was like, okay, how can I get the most out of this hip until I'm ready to be done with this? And so once I got that Terrence Crawford fight, I was like, boom, I'm in there. I was like, after the Terrence Crawford fight, I'm going to go talk to the doctors again. If they feel like, there's nothing else we can do. Of course, I looked at stem cell and all that kind of stuff. Few other different things that they're prescribed, but they said eventually you're gonna need to have your hips replaced. And that was most recently when I went. The very last time I went in, he had his hands in his pocket. He's basically like, "Why are you here? You're not here to make the appointment for the hip replacement surgery." And I said, "I just want to make sure there's nothing else I could do." And when I left the doctor's office, you came to mind, and I was like, let me hit Doc and see what he thinks about this. And you said, yo, you got a second to talk? Call me up, and you said, don't do nothing. give me a chance to do what I know is going to work for you. Describe to me some of the patients you work with, or describe to them some of the patients you work with, and kind of where it started and how it is now with those patients.
I've had over the years anything from like 8 to 80, babies. And then you have old people and everybody in the middle. And everybody's going through this aging process. That's exactly what is happening. And some people are doing with grace and some people are not, And when I start looking at, what's causing somebody like yourself to age faster than somebody who maybe isn't working as hard.
Like me, you can say me. We'll use two examples. That's fine.
About that, but I was like,
I thought about you earlier. I'm gonna bring something else to your attention in a minute.
The hamstrings.
It's got something to do with that.
And you start saying, okay, well, I look at this. I look at Shawn. Shawn's gonna work out 5 days a week, couple hours a day. All this stress and trauma on the body on the consistent basis, and then you go, what does he do to fix that? And you go, there's no remedy. I go, do you stretch? He goes, because when you're young, you don't feel like you have to stretch. Yeah. You just go, I'm ready, let's go. Good, yeah. and that's normally how most fighters or players or everybody feels. Maybe when you start doing a little bit more working out, let's say like you work out recreationally.
Yeah.
There's not as much trauma on your body. You go to the gym maybe once or twice a week. You look in the mirror. Yeah, that's enough. And you're done.
That's where I'm at now.
And there's stages to it, right? But through the whole process, there's never a stage where people actually start saying, hey, how do I strengthen my muscles? Like, how do I lengthen my muscles? How do I make sure my joints are moving? How do I feed my joints? What do my joints eat? You know, all of these things became things that as a young athlete, you'll never get answers from because you're too young. And as an old athlete, you'll think you already know because you're already at the top. And there's a big gap of information that's being left out. And that's what I wanted to be able to provide for my athletes. So for most of my guys, maybe I got started, I think 2014 with, I think, Abner. And then after that was another guy by the name of Yayo Thompson. Both of them won. And we went on a streak to where these guys were doing damage, you know, and it was nice. It was fun. I mean, I like winning.
Yeah.
I like winning. I'm like, we won.
Yeah.
Because, you know, even in basketball,
See that arm? I did that. That jab was faster than me.
Yeah.
You remember Rock'em Sock'em robots,
Yeah.
you know, and the arm would get stuck. And then once
Somebody
you fix the
broke it
arm,
out. Yeah. Boom. Yeah.
and that's what you would see. You would see the power return to the athletes. You would see the confidence return to the athletes. You would see the strength. You would see the swagger. All of these things maybe was stopped because of pain. Mm-hmm. And once you have enough pain, you think you can move the arm, but it's going to be slower. Mm-hmm. You know, even if you have an older athlete, if you have enough muscles in your quads and your hamstrings and your feet that are tight, it's going to affect the way that you walk. As people get older, the vision gets more poor, and maybe they take shorter steps when they walk. They call it like little bitty steps.
Yeah.
Because they're afraid if they take a longer stride, they may pull something or injure something. That's the same thing athletes are. You know, it's like, oh, I could give it my all, but if I throw this punch and I miss, it's going to hurt more. And you start seeing the philosophy of these athletes. So you say, what if I could take away that pain? And if I get rid of that pain and you can feel 100% and you have confidence, chances are you're going to win. Because when you get to the top, there's only fractions that separate the top athletes.
Absolutely.
And if you can control the pain or the confidence of that fighter, chances are you're going to win. And that's what normally happens, along with great training, along with a lot of good other good habits. But that's what I was able to see. So I think I'm trying to think when I met you. I know I met you in California.
Yeah, maybe before Keith Thurman, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 2013.
Yeah, 2013.
Excuse me, 2016.
2016, that's when it was. And I started to see, like, just in the sport of boxing is the hurt game. So you guys have the least amount of doctors, the least amount of healthcare, the least amount of advice, and a lot of times you're the least willing to accept it because there's tradition, and the traditions say you go like this.
Yeah.
And I go, ooh, well, everybody that goes that way, you know, it's different. So I started looking at what could I do to reduce the stress in the joints, reduce the stress in the body. And it was pretty remarkable as far as the rewards were concerned because we were winning.
What do you think, and we can even stick with the athlete perspective, what percentage of athletes do you think are dealing with something not chronic, like a serious injury, but like something that's holding them back? Like whether it's something in their shoulder they don't think about, but you get to work and you're like, what
100%.
the hell is this? Like, what is going on here?
100%.
Yeah.
100% of athletes are injured.
Yeah.
I remember we were talking to, I think it was Turner. He plays for the Dodgers, but before he played for the Dodgers, we met him at spring camp, and you think he was with the Rockies at the time. And we go into his room, me and my friend Roger, and all these pitchers are there, and all this, and pitchers also have really bad shoulders because they're throwing the ball at such a high velocity every single pitch, which means there's certain muscles that are constantly being injured on the throw. You know, like on that throw, you just create inflammation.
Yeah.
So you start looking at what is the reduction on that? How do you slow that down? Most people Tylenol or ice. And I was like, wow, you don't actually touch the muscle? And they'll be like, oh no, it hurts too bad.
Yeah. That's not a good sign.
So you'll start seeing this philosophy of if it hurts, leave it alone or mask the pain. And as you do that over a period of time, you're not going to be able to do what you do well, because what you're going to be concerned about is it hurts so bad. Can I do it tomorrow? And with the younger guys have that swag, you know, because maybe they haven't aged as much or they haven't thrown as many punches. But it's a threshold. I would say it's amount of punches you throw that gets you to a point to where it's going to start hurting. They say, I think as an expert, you have to have 10,000 hours. And in boxing, 10,000 hours of punching a bag.
Yeah. Or get punched yourself.
So it makes a big difference. I mean, your technique is important and your technique is really good, but some guys, they throw wrong and they have extra stuff that's wrong with them. And that causes trauma in the body that they're unable to win with, I'll say.
And for what you know, your knowledge.
Yeah.
And when you look at my hip, of course, knowing boxing, know that I fight, you know, with my left foot out front. My left side is my dominant side for the most part. When you look at my hip, do you say that's overuse? You say that's he neglected doing something, or do you just say, hey, you know, over the course of time, this is what was inevitable for him? Like when you see my hip, what do you think?
Honestly, I would have to go with neglect. And only because most people don't know. Like when you go to the dentist, before you have a cavity, and he's do that little sticky thing in there, and you don't realize the sticky thing is cavities.
Yeah.
That's how people are.
Yeah.
And when I look at you, I go, man, he tries hard, but there could be an information gap that can stop you from getting where you need to go. And when I look at boxing, you know, who told me this? I can't remember. I think I was talking to Brandon, and he said, well, there's no college courses for boxing. I was like, there's no double A. There's nothing that takes care of boxers. It's just like, you better figure it out, or you either fight or you don't. With basketball, with football, you have at least physical therapists. At least they'll put some ice on you every so often. But with boxing, it was just so far behind everything else that I was like, wow, this is kind of interesting.
You have to kind of find your own resources, where a team at least will have somebody available.
They will have something.
Yeah.
So when I looked at boxing, I was like, wow, nobody's really opened this industry up. So that's what I wanted to be able to do. I wanted to be able to help injured athletes get to 100%, because most people only know getting better through surgery, because that's what they've been told over and over again.
Hey, Hafey, can you pull up one of the pictures of like the muscles in the legs?
There you go.
So right here, where you know you.
So
It's funny because, well, let me say real quick. It's funny because, you know, I take no offense to you saying, hey, I have to go with neglect. But when I think about what I was trying to do, or what I was instructed to do, or what I was educated on the ice baths, ice baths once a week. I was educated on massages, deep tissue massages, but not this deep tissue massaging. And then I personally, I think anybody would say, hey, you know, you've been doing this the exact same way for X amount of years, or close to 25 years, maybe plus, doing it this specific way the entire time. So to me, it's, when I use the word inevitable, I don't mean it in the sense that it was bound to happen, but at the same time, so long of so much the same way. And then when we say, hey, there's neglect through to what I call ignorance, just from the sense of not knowing. So I go get massages. I didn't have anyone that was specific to me or my body, learned my body or anything like that. So it was like, you know, hey, you got a massage. It was an hour and a half. You're good to go. But when you go in, what you're telling me is, you know, hey, you dealing with your hip, but there's so many other things that haven't been touched.
Correct.
Go ahead.
So when I look at this is basically your quads. Okay. So this is the front of your leg. And what you're looking at are the muscles detached from your hip all the way down to your knee, okay? So if these muscles are tight, that means your hip is going to be tight. So you have the muscles in the front, you have the muscles in the back, you have the muscles on the side, and you have the muscles in the middle. All those muscles have to be addressed.
Right.
Because over a period of time, those same muscles ran the same as, say, 10,000 hours of greatness in order for you to get to where you want to go. So for you just to replace one part and think that one part is the only thing that's going to be affected, it's kind of like you're hurting, because you're going to have to replace that. You can't replace the muscles because there's nothing for that,
Right.
but they will consistently replace your joints.
Right.
So I look at it and I kind of go, if you look at maybe neglect is no disrespect for you.
Yeah, of course.
Neglect means that you did everything you did in your power. You know, like there was a long time I didn't floss. Like, oh, this is what flossing brings out. You know, it changes things for you.
I'm gonna start flossing.
Yeah, he's brought up cavities.
Like,
floss.
he called me out on the floss. I'm over here like, this is good.
Well, they're just habits. And when you talk to people who have their teeth, you go, hey, what'd you do to keep your teeth? I brush my teeth every day. I floss. I went to the dentist every so often. When you see people who have all their own parts, you ask them, hey, what did you do? And then when you ask people who have surgery, they say the same thing. I didn't do nothing. I thought I was going to get better. You know, and health does not work that way. Health does not work. It's a cause and effect. So whatever you decide to do is either going to put you in a better position or a worse position. And most people don't know what to do to get in a better position, especially when I saw in boxing. So I was able to make, you know, almost seemed like 50% differences in people because they didn't have anything like that. Like if I said, okay, what are you eating before? You said marshmallows and soda. I'd be like, dang, you're going to eat marshmallows?
I never said that. I never said that.
He's
I
never
don't eat
said
marshmallows.
that. I've had fighters. that try to gain their weight back.
Yeah.
And they're eating donuts.
Oh yeah. You mean after a weigh-in?
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
No, I've eaten donuts after your weigh-in, but I don't have to do anything afterwards.
But the knowledge is not there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And if you watch enough TV commercials, you'll start believing this philosophy. There was a time I thought, you know, sports drinks were good for me. Because a dude would be on, I'd be like, oh, I want to be like him. Give me one of
You
those.
want to say his name, huh?
I don't even want to say his name, but you know who he is. And you start looking at these things like, if I'm that impressionable and I'm a doctor, what does everybody else believe in? You know? And you start looking at what actually works. And that's really out of necessity is how this all happened, because people would say, my shoulder, I would adjust their shoulder, it still hurts. Well, what else around there could be causing the problem? Then you start looking at the different muscles, and then you go, oh, that one's it. And then that was the one. That was the one that gave them that 110%. And I was happy, and then they were happy, and then now we're working, you know?
Couple more about me, and then we'll move forward, because I do want to give these people a little bit more education based on some of the things that you got. It's great stuff. Let's talk real quick about the plan that we have put in place for me. Because at this point, I've decided not to do a hip replacement surgery. Now, why would you agree that my situation is chronic?
Yo, yes, it's right.
Like,
You see that?
He said like
Say
the Dr. Dre album.
Yeah, they all respond like that. Like,
Yeah.
but you understand that what you have to offer me is much better than me getting cut open.
Oh yeah. Well,
And I'm willing to go with that.
Well, this is what I look at, man. However you chop it up, what heals your body is your body. If I cut you right now, it's not going to be medication. It's not going to be surgery. Your body's going to heal itself. It's going to come together like this.
Neosporin. New skin?
New skin, okay. We'll go with that today. But my point of it is, before medicine existed, if you got a cut, no commercials, your body would heal. Maybe you would have a scar afterwards, but you would heal. And if you couldn't heal, that's a different problem. Because if you can't heal, there's something else going on we need to figure out.
Survey says you're dead.
Survey says on the way that way.
Yeah.
So what I looked at was, okay, if he has the ability to heal, he's a top athlete, he eats well, he trains well, all of this, and this joint, instead of being here, it's over here. Now you don't have that mechanical advantage. Now you have instability problems. Now when you try to move, you're not stabilized in that joint, so the joint feels like it's going to give way. And then down the leg, you're going to have maybe other muscles that are trying to compensate for that. So maybe you'll have like super tight quads and your hamstrings will be tight because they're trying to support a joint that should be here, but it's now here. So the combination of those things end up being major for anybody really. So when I look at that and I look at you, there's millimeters in your hip to say, you know, you need to have a hip surgery. So what if I can affect the muscles to where I get that hip just that much more? Because it's not like you're going to go, oh my gosh, you need this much space. That's not what you need. You need millimeters. Can I get your body to have more millimeters? Absolutely. So when I look at it that way, I think, man, would you rather get surgery, and then after the surgery, those muscles in the hip and your leg and so on and so forth also have to be all the same. They have all same mileage. So if a car is 10 years old, you can't just, you know, change the tire and think you got a brand new car. So all the parts are aging at the same rate. So you need to fix that in order for you to get to a better place.
Hey, can you bring up the graph that's got the food on it? Because here's the other part of it. The other part of it is, okay, you're getting the massaging. You're healthy. You're running. You're doing everything that's required for a young athlete to be young and athletic and healthy. But then if you're putting the wrong things in your body,
absolutely,
you're still regressing the muscles. You're still regressing everything that I have going on right now. So we've even talked about changing my nutrition. My nutritional plan as well. So real quick, go through the plus and the minus of the body. Which is crazy.
One of the major things you have to know is your body is electric. The pH of your blood is 7.365, which is a negative charge and slightly alkaline. So when you look at this chart, what this chart is saying is how many electrons are going to be donated. Big sip.
Don't you worry about it. The second food, you heard me say, it's not about me, it's about you, baby. My hips work.
My hips ain't lying.
Yeah.
So when you look at this chart right here, this is a chart of what is donating electricity to your body and what is stealing electricity from your body. So if you look at maybe one of the best things people look at as an antioxidant, people are going to say is vitamin C. And vitamin C has a negative 50, which means when you eat that, it's donating electricity to your body, If you had green tea or cod liver oil or these things, this comes from a codfish. I don't know why that oil is really good, but it is really good for your body. And it has a negative charge associated with it, which means when it goes inside your body, it donates that electricity. You have to think of your body kind of like a force field around it. And if you keep putting sugar inside your force field, it's going to weaken the whole entire system.
Don't look at me at the corner of your eye. It was like, interesting. So, my force field
is low. Captain, your force field is low.
Super low.
So you start looking at this, and people that are low in voltage or low in charge are going to have the weakest immune system, and we're going to call those chronic problems. Hypertension, diabetes, arthritis, all of these things are things that you're putting inside your body, foods, if you will, and beverages that are weakening the system on a regular basis. So how do you find better foods like avocados, like cod liver oil? So there's this company called Enagic. They've been in business for, I don't know, over 45 years or so, and I got involved with them. It was brand new information, but all throughout health, I had never heard anybody talk about electricity before.
Right.
So I was just like, electricity in the water? Wait a minute. And then I remember when I was a kid, you would rub your foot on the carpet and then you shock the pretty girl in front of you right in the ear. Plow. Plow. And then you knew you were transferring what? Electricity. If you die, first thing they do is shock you back to life. Everything in your house is ran by what? Electricity. Maybe a different end result, but voltage is running through your house in order for everything to work. So the same thing happens with your body. As long as you got a flow of electricity, your body's giving or is receiving, and it can get out, and your heart pumps blood and electricity. As that process happens, it goes through the rest of your body. But if you drink things that slow that down or eat things that slow that down, you're going to have more problems. all fast foods, they slow that down. And I was the fast food king. Pizzas, hamburgers. They called me the hamburglar at one time. That's just how much I liked the hamburgers. But I didn't know what it was doing to my body. Same thing with alcohol. I used to drink a lot of alcohol, but I didn't know what it was doing to my body. Once you know better, you're able to do better. But if you look at the spectrum from negative to positive, you want to concentrate on eating things that have a negative charge. That's what Dr. Sebi talks about. If anybody ever follows Dr. Sebi, he's passed now, but he's given out a lot of great information. And essentially, he talks about eating foods that are high in voltage, high that can donate electricity inside your body. So what this machine does is it puts electricity inside the water for about 24 to 72 hours. And what that does is that electricity goes inside your body and helps your body to function itself. The water doesn't heal, your body heals. Okay. So your body has to have voltage in order for it to heal. They call that a place called homeostasis. So when you go to your deep sleep is when your body has enough energy to heal. It's like cutting off your computer and all the other apps are not working anymore. And now you're just working on the core. But if you don't have enough energy, you're not going to be able to get that machine working to push out all the bad stuff. You eliminate waste 4 ways: urination, perspiration, exhalation. You pee, you number 2, you sweat. Yeah, defecation.
Number 1, number 2.
Number 1, number 2, but you sweat, and then you also breathe out acid waste. Acid waste is basically your body trying to release the waste. So if your body can't release it, you have to wonder why. Is it because you're putting too much bad stuff in? Is you don't have enough energy to process it? You don't have enough water to flush it out? Or are you stressed? And because you're so stressed, you can't get that stuff out. All these things come into play maybe as you start looking at the athlete and you start looking at how you're looking at health. And when you start looking at all disease starts from the first disease, which is dehydration. You put yourself in a position to say, well, how much water am I drinking? How many other things am I drinking? So if I said to you, hey, I'm going to wash your car for you.
Appreciate that.
Hey, no problem. I got you. I'm going to use that beverage to wash your car, though.
I'll stand by it. Appreciate that.
You got to look at, what is it going to do to the paint? You'll say, no, it's going to tear the paint up. But you can put it in your body. And when you start looking at these things, common sense wise, you start changing the way that you look and how things are. And for me, it was a rude awakening. As I started drinking the water, I just started feeling my life come back, if you will. And when I started looking at even the erosion, when you drink this type of water, less erosion is happening in your joints. And that ends up being a big deal as well, because there's things that are more acidic that are going to cause you to age prematurely. And absolutely that can be affected with your diet and also the things you drink, also your routine.
So I'm turning to Silk the Shocker if I drink that.
So I wanna just go back over it really quickly, because I caught it and I was like, dang. So our body has a positive charge. And in order to feed that positive charge, we need to feed that body negative things.
That's correct.
So it's just like a battery. When you always put the plus with the negative.
Alkaline battery.
They got
All
it.
ties
That's exactly
together.
it.
Same thing.
I just learned it as he takes another drink.
So
I won't be sharing.
Go ahead. This is my last cup. I gotta finish it. But that's how it goes.
That's how it goes.
And so we need to get into a habit. Going back to what you said earlier, getting into better habits.
That's exactly what it is.
And better habits means finding more foods that have a negative charge.
That's it.
To feed to the positive charge of your body.
That's exactly right. So if you look here, this is the acid alkaline balance, right?
Oh, we're moving ahead of me on this one.
He's flying right now. So when you look at the pH of your blood is 7.365. So if you look at tap water's essentially alkaline slightly, but there's differences in this water. So if you look, everything acidic is going to be your fast foods. That's going to be your emotional stress. It's going to be aging. Sodas are not going to be that side. Fast food drinks are going to be on the other side. And when you start looking at the things that you eat, you go, well, what do I eat that is alkaline? The list gets really short. Like where can you go to McDonald's and get an alkaline meal? You're going to be in trouble. And when you look at that over a period of time, it affects your health in a dramatic way. Because what you're trying to do is keep that voltage charge going throughout your entire body. And the more you slow it down, maybe the first sign or symptom of that, maybe you start getting swelling in your ankles because the current will not get the swollen stuff in and out, but you won't be able to process it. You won't have enough energy to do it. You'll feel fatigued, but it's normally because maybe the carbonated beverage you drink, the sugars you drink, maybe it's dairy. You have to look at your own diet. What I tried to do, at least in my own life, is have what they call clean burning fuel. There's certain things like the last time I ate a steak, it took me almost 3 weeks to digest it. Not fun. You start looking at
How you know?
You don't want to.
Yeah, you don't want to know. But that was the last steak
That's crazy.
I had. Yeah. But what I'm going to say is you have to start looking at your body as cause and effect. So self-love becomes very important, and you being aware of you looking like, how many more gray hairs do I have? Did I lose any more, gain any more weight? How has this food affected me? Did I get a headache? Did I get nervous? What happened when I ate this food? Prior to this, there would be nothing. I was just like, oh, it's good. As I started to get older, I started to see that maybe the foods I eat had more of a consequence than before. There was a time I would get these donuts. I can't remember, Krispy Kreme donuts. I would eat the whole dozen myself. Anything wrong with you? Nope. Let's go get some more. That's the way I was. And I used, I'm an athlete. I could do that. I'm just going to burn it off. It's different because this food is going to stick inside your body for a long time, which means that second thing is your body is a temperature. It's 98.6 degrees, okay? And every day your body has to take out the trash, all right? If your body does not take out the trash, yesterday's trash stays inside your body. If you create that as a habit, that's how you get the pot bellies. That's how you get the swelling. That's how you start getting the inflammation. That's how you start getting all this stuff because it's now compacted and your body cannot get rid of it. When you add dehydration to that, now you have a sewer system with no water in it. And that's when things start to grow.
Just go, it's a perpetual.
It's going to keep going. So for my whole thing, your health habits have become important. You have to do something in order to get something. And that's my philosophy on things.
Right. Yeah. So better habits. We brought a doctor in to teach us about better habits.
That makes sense.
I appreciate you. You know that. Looking forward to the work we're gonna do together.
Absolutely.
We will be checking in, letting y'all know how it's going.
It's gonna go well.
Hopefully,
Shawn couldn't dunk a basketball before, but you check 6 months from now.
Oh, yeah.
I ain't gonna front. So everything happened.
Yeah.
I'm like, dang, that's probably why I couldn't dunk. Because I jump off my left foot.
Yeah, that's definitely why.
I was like,
That's it. That was all. That's all that was holding you up.
well, hey, again, thank you for coming. Thank you for joining the Porter Way podcast. Listen, we just started our Patreon account. Go there, subscribe, check it out. We did have an offline conversation with Dr. Lucas here, with my wife and Dr. Lucas, and that is on the Patreon. So go there, check that out, and you'll find out a little bit more about myself, what's going on with my hip, and about Dr. Lucas as well.
And the link is in the description.
The link is in the description.
Boom.
You guys have a blessed day. What's up? I'm Showtime Shawn Porter.
I'm Ant. Follow me on IG, Ant with 2 T's.
This is the Porter Way podcast. This is Anthony Brenagh, and this is Carson Merk. Tell them what to do.
Hey, like, subscribe, comment, follow us on all social media platforms.
Subscribe.
I'm from Louisiana. I'll talk with a B. Let's do it. Let's do it again.
All right, just introduce yourself.
Okay.
And then you tell them what to do.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Porter Way podcast.
You're already here.
Hey, this is our outro. We're going to do it how we want to.
I'm Showtime Shawn Porter.
I'm Anthony Brenagh.
Carson Merk. Like, subscribe, comment.
This is the Porter Way.